Hello, my wonderful wavies and my curly and coily coterie. If you're new to my channel, my name is Lena and welcome to my bathroom. Now, if you've landed on this video, chances are that you've decided that you want to embrace your hair in whatever form it grows out of your head. Whatever genetics has dictated, you have decided you want to embrace that texture. And you're now on this journey for healthy hair. And I just want to say congratulations. That can be a very hard decision to make. I am here to help you figure out this process. So that being said, you've decided you want to go on this healthy hair journey. What's next? Well, there is going to be a time frame between when you made that decision and when your hair really looks its best. And we call that the transition process. And for the first few weeks is actually going to be a little bit tricky. It might actually look worse than what you're used to. So what I mean by this, especially if you are used to straightening your hair, if you're someone who has straightened your hair every day for years, it's not going to be sleek and shiny right away. It's going to take some time to get it to that shiny state, and it might actually be frizzier and it might actually kind of be stringy as well. So it's going to take some time for your hair to adjust to this new routine, this new process. Just to kind of show you what I mean, this is a picture of what my hair looked like at the beginning of my journey. And the first time I started on these new routines and just focusing on having healthy hair, my hair was frizzy, it was stringy, it did not look very good. But that being said, after a few weeks, it started to sort itself out, and then after a few months, it started to look really good. So here's another picture of a few months later. I will say the transition process from the very beginning to the very end can take years, but it will start to look better pretty fast, especially if you follow these 5 tips. So I'm gonna go ahead and give you my 5 main tips as to how to speed up this transition process. Number 1. The first thing I tend to tell people when they tell me that they want to embrace whatever their hair is going to do, that they're struggling with, whether it's frizz or puffiness, whatever it is, the first thing I tell them to do is follow a very simple routine. The 2 main things that are causing our hair to not curl or not be whatever texture it's meant to be are going to be dryness and damage. So by following this routine, and I'll link it up above because I have the full routine laid out in a previous video, you will be able to encourage your hair to retain more moisture, and you will decrease the amount of damage being done to it. Those are going to make a very big difference to your hair. But I'll go over very briefly what it's talking about, and if you want more information, you can go look at that previous video. So this routine is one that's taking away things that are damaging our hair. So things like drying it with a terry cloth towel. A terry cloth towel is just your standard towel. The other thing that we want to avoid is brushing our hair when it's dry. One, if you do have texture to your hair, so if you have waves, curls, coils, whatever it is, you're brushing that texture away. You're separating them so it doesn't have any texture anymore. That's part of what can cause a lot of the puffiness. Instead, you're going to want to detangle your hair in the shower with conditioner. But if you're brushing your hair when it's dry, and especially if you're starting at the root and just pulling the brush through, you're actually breaking strands of hair. So we really want to be careful with how we brush our hair. Some of the biggest changes you can make, though, are in your products that you're using. So the first being that you want to start using a sulfate-free shampoo. And then the other thing to look for is silicones. But those are things that we definitely want to avoid in our routine. And introducing products that have a lot of moisture are going to help as well. So I don't lay this out in my basic routine because to some degree you want to get that basic routine down. First, you want to make that a habit so that it's not anything new to you, and then you can start adding to it. But once you have that easy routine down, start introducing things like leave-in conditioners. Number 2. So for this next tip, I really just strongly suggest decreasing the amount of damage you do to your hair. And there's a few ways we can do this. I know I do have a previous video laying out some of the biggest ways we damage our hair. So look into that if you are more interested. But the other big main point that I want to bring up on damaging our hair is one that's not going to be a huge surprise to a lot of people, but heat damage. Putting heat on our hair is really doing a lot of damage to it. So I really strongly suggest that if you have any heat tools, so any curling irons, any straighteners, to just put them away for the time being. And especially when it comes to a straightener, because if you have some sort of texture to your hair that you're trying to encourage more of, you do actually have to kind of train your hair. It takes some time for it to understand how it's supposed to curl or how it's supposed to be textured. It's not going to be an instant process, but by straightening your hair, you're making that process of your hair learning how to curl or how to wave take a little bit longer. That being said, we can still continue to use blow dryers. You just want to make sure that you're not using it on a hot setting. We want to use either a cool or a warm setting, and if it feels hot on your scalp, it's too hot. And the other thing when we're using a blow dryer is you want to use a diffuser on it. But that's going to help with the heat because it's not applying as much heat in one direct area. Not only that, but when you use a diffuser, you can actually cup your hair with that diffuser. That's actually going to help your hair find whatever pattern it wants to find, whether it's wavy, curly, coily. It's going to help encourage that texture. The best bet for drying your hair, especially when going through the transition process, is just to air dry. That is going to be the healthiest for it. And on one final note on the heat, keep in mind the heat of your shower. If you're taking very hot showers, that can also damage your hair. Number 3. Now this is one that I actually wasn't great about either. I probably should have been better about this, but trimming your hair. Trimming your hair every 6 to 8 weeks, and by trimming I mean just taking off the littlest bit on the bottom, is really going to help maintain the health of your hair. You're taking off any split ends, any damaged ends, and it's going to help take some of the weight off, but it's also going to help decrease any breakage. So by taking off those damaged ends, we're really just helping to maintain the length of our hair. Not only that, but something to keep in mind as well is that to some degree, as unfortunate as it is, we can't necessarily repair the damage that's been done to our hair. We kind of have to grow it out, especially if the damage is really bad or if you've used a chemical relaxer. You may just have to grow your hair out. So by trimming it every 6 to 8 weeks, you can get rid of some of it without having to commit to chopping a lot of it off. On the other side though, that is actually an option, is if you wanted to, you could do what's called the big chop and just chop off all the damaged hair. Now this could mean a few things. If your hair is really damaged, you might go all the way to the scalp. What I did is I actually grew my hair out for about a year and a half. And once I had a lot of healthy hair from my scalp, I just cut off all the damaged stuff at the bottom. So I'll go ahead and post a picture here of what it looked like before. So here's a picture of what it looked like after I cut it. I took probably 5 or 6 inches off, and that was just cutting off all of the stuff at the bottom that was really damaged. Once you get through this transition process, once your hair is a lot healthier, you can determine what works best for you. Different hair types are going to need to be cut at different intervals, but you may be able to push it out to a little longer than 8 weeks. So number 4, this is one that I actually wish I had started doing sooner, and that is deep conditioning your hair once a week. There are a ton of deep conditioners on the market that are really good for your hair. And by incorporating them into your routine, this really will just help bring the moisture back to our hair. Again, as I said before, the main culprits of puffy, frizzy, dry hair are either damage or dryness. And by using a deep conditioner, we're helping with the dryness aspect of it. Now, keep in mind, deep conditioners cannot repair damage to our hair. Very little things can actually repair damage. So again, that's why I said previously that sometimes you just have to cut off the damage. But if your hair is really just dry, using a deep conditioner is going to very much help the appearance of it. It's going to help your waves or your curls really clump together a lot better, and it's going to help the appearance of them. So I would definitely suggest incorporating a deep conditioner into your routine. Now, I do want to mention this because I kind of briefly touched on it. The things that can actually repair the damage are bond builders. I want to add this as a side note, not a main talking point, because these are more expensive products. The 2 main ones that I know of are Olaplex number 3 and Curlsmith's Bond Rehab Salve. And these products definitely do help your hair a lot. They're gonna improve the appearance of your hair. If you haven't seen, I did do a review on this, but these kind of products are really good if you want to speed up the process even more. They're going to help encourage actual repair to your hair. And again, that repairing the damage is going to make the texture look a lot better, and it's gonna make your hair look a lot healthier. That being said, they are not necessary for this process. So that's completely up to you whether you want to spend the money purchasing these products or not. They are. Number 5. As I said, to some degree, throughout this process, we are actually trying to teach our hair to take whatever texture form it wants to take. There are some processes and some things that we can do that do actually help your hair to learn these things called curl training. The first one I want to mention is called squish to condition. This is where you're applying your conditioner in the shower or your deep conditioner, your finger detangling your hair, and then you're going to cup it and scrunch it towards your scalp. The other one that's very similar to this is scrunching. This one, the only difference is that we're doing this once we put our styling products in our hair. So once you've applied your leave-in conditioner and your gel, you're gonna just do the same process of cupping your hair, bringing it towards your scalp and scrunching. And what both of these are going to do is they're just going to help encourage whatever curl you have or whatever waves you have to start to form and really take as much shape as possible. These are definitely things I suggest incorporating into your routine. So the next one is called plopping. And for this one, what you're gonna do is you're gonna take whatever you've used to dry your hair, whether that's your microfiber towel or your t-shirt, or for me, I've been using a baby swaddle more recently. You're going to lay it flat on the floor, bring your head upside down. You're going to place your hair on whatever fabric you've chosen until your head touches the floor or the bed, whatever you're using as your flat surface. And then you're gonna gather that fabric, any extra fabric up and tie it. It's going to, again, help to encourage your hair to wave or to curl, find that texture that it wants to find. Not only that, but you're taking the weight off of your hair while it's wet, and because we are going to leave this plop in for maybe 10 to 15 minutes, it's absorbing some of that moisture out of your hair. This is one that I would not do throughout my entire head because it takes so much time. I've never done it, but you could theoretically do it. This is also one that you want to do during your styling process. So once your hair is wet and it has its product in it, you'll start doing this, and that is called finger coiling or finger rolling. And I'll explain both of them because they are a little bit different. So you'll find a piece and you want to pick a piece that's about the size of your texture. So if you have tighter curls, you're going to want to go in with smaller pieces. Finger coiling is when you just twist the strand. Pretty easy. That's going to help encourage it to form in whatever way it wants to form. But this one is called finger rolling. So you want to wrap the end of your hair around your finger and then put your other finger right next to it. Pinch the hair and bring it up. And you're just kind of rolling it up your head. And the tighter the roll, the tighter the curl. But this is a very good tool to use on specific areas of your head that you're having issues with. Now, the last one is probably the most time consuming. Once you've applied your deep conditioner into your hair in the shower, or you could do this with just a conditioner, or you could do this with one of your bond builders if you decide to go with a bond builder. You'll take small sections of your hair, again about the size of your curl, and you'll separate them in two, and then you're pretty much doing a rope braid. I always go to the left for some reason, but you're gonna twist the left piece to the left and then bring the other strand underneath, to the left and underneath, to the left and underneath. And you're just gonna do this until you reach the end of your hair. And then you're just gonna do this around your entire head, and then you're gonna leave your conditioner, your bond builder, whatever product you put in your hair for the whatever suggested length of time. So it can be kind of time consuming, but if you're really dedicated to speeding up this process, I think this is a really good way to do it. It's really going to help in the long run. I know I went over a lot there and it is a lot to take in. So I do suggest that if you have decided to go through this process and you have decided to commit to having healthy hair, take it slow. Diving in too deep all at once is a guaranteed way to overwhelm yourself and make you less likely to actually do these things. So start off with that easy routine. Go watch that video that I mentioned earlier. Start with that. Be very simple. And then once you feel confident with that routine, then start incorporating other things into it. And the other thing I do strongly suggest if you are going through the transition process is try to find a lot of different people on YouTube. Follow people with different hair textures, different hair types, because to some degree you don't know what your hair is going to turn out to be. So watch a few different people who have different hair types, see what they do with theirs, and then you can try incorporating those things into your routine as well. But really just take it slow, give your hair time, and the biggest tip I have is to just be patient. It is a long process. It is something that is going to take time. Try to enjoy the process. It's kind of fun to play with products and see what you can figure out. And I know we're all going to have bad hair days. Even at my point that I'm at, I'm 2.5 years into this journey for healthy hair, and I still have bad hair days. So just keep in mind that this is going to take some time, but that's okay. That's very normal. Just be patient with yourself, be patient with your hair, and I hope to see you next time.